Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You're very welcome to our webinar this afternoon, and great to see so many people joining us today. You'll see a lot of faces on screen, which I know is unusual, but I think today is a really important webinar for members. So what we're going to do is we're going to give just the usual 2 minutes for everybody to sign in and register. So we'll give everybody a couple of seconds. We'll be recording the webinar as always, and a copy of the recording will be available in the next couple of days. And we'll also have a copy of the presentation. So for anybody on the call that's interested in a copy of the presentation, please do get in touch with myself or with any of the contacts that you have from your registration page. This afternoon's topic, I think, is a really interesting one because we've seen a lot in the last 15 months of challenges for companies in, apart from COVID, and just in addressing the changes in the whole approach to customer experience and the whole introduction and the inclusion of new ways of working and new technologies to support customer experience. And Derek Temple is chairman of the CCMA and is one of the directors with Dell EMC. And on one of our board meetings a few months ago, he spoke to us about a really innovative program that they had undertaken with Skillnet and with Neueda, who are on the call today. And it has really had a huge impact on the Dell operation, and it was really positive in terms of transforming and upskilling their workforce. So today we're really lucky to be joined by several members of the Dell Technologies team who are going to share really valuable insights on that program, on the delivery of the program, the development of the program, the impact of the program. We're going to hear from some members of the Dell Technologies team about their direct experience of the program. And I suppose from a CCMA and IDA perspective, we really want to get across the message of the importance of upskilling and recognizing these new technologies and how they can enhance, employee engagement, your workforce capabilities, but also obviously importantly, the delivery of customer experience and support to your customers. So you have everybody you need on this webinar today. We're joined also by Neueda, by David, and we'll do the formal introductions as we go along. But I really would encourage you to use this opportunity to ask any questions that you have. As usual, we have our chat box section over on the right-hand side, so please do feel free to go ahead and to put your questions in, or any comments and observations, because you really, as I say, have the experts here who can share insights on how they've developed this program and what the achievements have been and what the results have been and what the impact have been for the Dell team. So to kick off, we're obviously delighted that IDA have supported this webinar this afternoon, and we're really delighted to welcome Breda O'Toole, the Head of Talent Transformation and Innovation for IDA. And Breda's going to kick us off with a short presentation, and then we'll get into the nuts and bolts of the Transform programme. Thanks a lot, Breda. Handing over to you.
Thank you very much, Dorothy, and good afternoon, everyone. Great to be here with you this afternoon. So I'm just going to run through a few slides to highlight the IDA Ireland focus on transformation as part of its new strategy. And for the interest of clients around the table here, I wish it were, we just our approach to transformation supports for you are really highlighted. So on the first slide there, you can see the national CX transformation, which probably a lot of you are familiar with now. It outlines the vision and roadmap for developed through state agencies, EI and IDA, and 11 companies along with CCMA. And really the whole point of it was to address the wave of digital disruption that is and will continue to shape this sector. And this is again reinforced on the left-hand side there by IDA strategy, and there's links to both of them for your observations. On the next slide then, there are 5 pillars to IDA's new strategy, and for the sake of today's conversation, I'm focusing in on transformation. A new department has been established to support the delivery of this pillar, and really it's about supporting our client companies to be successful in what we know is an increasingly competitive environment. So you'll see some very challenging targets against all our 5 pillars there, particularly on the one on transformation. Moving on to our next slide then, you'll see that this is really meant to give you a sense of some of the emerging trends that we see across all our sectors in IDA. And you'll note that we identify areas of opportunity for Ireland there on the very bottom that are practically all related to disruptive technologies across all sectors, including, of course, our business services, and all about providing different and enhanced customer experience through change and efficiency. So if you look at the next slide, then we have a definition prepared for transformation in IDA. And this is really to guide our own discussion with clients. And really we focus on 4 areas. So you'll see digitalization there, which you won't find too surprising. And examples of our discussions there around IoT, robotics, data analytics, cloud computing. You go down to innovation, which is a really key driver of our strategy for the next 4 years. It's all about management skills for leadership, identifying insights, creation of ideas and developing them further. You'll see on the next little thing there, we have sustainability and climate action. That's all about understanding environmental risks and opportunities, reducing carbon emissions, which of course we talk about these days, and of course then organizational ability, agility and resilience. And that's all about skills to lead in a digital world, which of course you're going to hear about very soon. And driving this agenda, you'll see on the right-hand side of that slide, is reflected of the vision in the CX transformation report. And, we'll move towards recognizing as a global location for CX transformation, which is where we really want to be in Ireland. So on the next slide then, you'll see our approach. Just stopping there for a moment, Niamh, thank you. This is our enhanced approach really to transformation. So for the clients sitting around the table, and also for Enterprise Ireland clients who are joined us today, we'll have a range of diagnostic tools for digitalization and innovation for you to use to identify your own maturity levels as an organization in 4 areas that I've already mentioned that are there on your screen. This will help to identify your own pathway towards managing disruptive technologies, both in terms of leading and actual application, which in turn will turn to its transformation agenda. And you're going to see a fabulous example of that later on. And then if we click on again twice, you'll see that the other role IDA plays is working with Mark there in Skillnet and looking for where the gaps appear for clients in terms of trying to meet provision and how we bridge those gaps. So it's very important that we do that within the infrastructure, because the infrastructure is very heavily supportive in terms of its provision, particularly around training and development. And how can we bring that into a nice neater pile for our clients and an understanding of the pathways that they need to drive through. So then if we look at the next slide there, you'll remember this from the CX transformation roadmap. So this would be an example of a roadmap which is currently resides within the CX transformation report. And really, we want to just help companies to drive to best in class, because that's how we can sell Ireland on a global level, particularly in terms of its client interface. Then if we look at the next slide, you'll see there, oops, there we are, thanks Niamh, a range of supports for clients. And you'll find a number of these are also available for Enterprise Ireland clients around the room here. So support is really around what's emerging out of the diagnostic tools. What have I found out about my organization that maybe I can be helped along to move along my own pathway towards transformation. And one of our diagnostic tools only take about 10 minutes to complete. And then there's a range of supports around R&D, innovation, specifically our training supports, capital, lean global business services, supply chain management, and also support to help you to internationalize beyond your existing markets. So suffice it to say, on my last slide, I'm going to end with a clip, but before I do, I'll just say to you that if you want to get more information about these supports or diagnostic tools, please contact your IDA project executive. If you're not 100% sure who that is, then get in touch with me and I'll guide you in the appropriate way. And for your DA, if you're an Enterprise Ireland client, to really contact the organisations, the agencies involved, so that we can help you along this pathway, which is what we're here to do. So I'm going to leave you with a little clip, and then after that finishes, Dorothy will take over. Thank you all so very much.
That's great. Thanks so much, Breda. Really useful insights. And I can also just very much reinforce the value of a lot of the links that Breda has shared there, in particular our CX report that we conducted with IDA and EI back in 2019. And although that might seem like a long time ago, it's a really valuable report, and anybody that's interested in the link to that, just drop myself or Breda an email. Happy to share that with you. And there's some really valuable case studies about companies who have invested and the different processes they've put in place with the new technologies to support customer experience. But now we're moving on to the main event, and delighted to welcome Una McDermott of Dell Technologies. And Una is the director of the team member service desk with Dell. And she's joined by a number of our colleagues who I'll let her introduce, and also by David Bowl from Neueda. And as I said, Una is going to share valuable insights on the Transform programme. So I won't take up any more time. And Una, I'll hand over to you. And as always, thank you so much for your time and for being willing to share and speak to the members today. So really appreciate it.
My pleasure, Dorothy. Thank you so much for inviting us to be part of the discussion here today, and welcome everybody to this presentation from sunny Limerick. Great that we can all be together virtually. So as Dorothy has said, my name is Una McDermott and I'm a HR director with Dell Technologies. And today I'm going to be joined by David Bowl from Neueda, who's going to share more about the details of the programme, and two of my Dell colleagues, Joan Crotty and John Sherlock, and they both have recently completed the programme and are here today to offer their perspective on how the programme has helped their career and development, and their personal, kind of development as well, and really just to bring this story to life, I guess. So if we can move on to the next slide, please, Niamh. So for us at Dell, this has been a journey, and it's probably been a journey for the past 3 years. And today it's a really exciting day for me to talk about this, because we actually have 900 of our Dell team members across Ireland complete this amazing learning experience. So we're really proud of the programme. We're really delighted to be able to share that out. And I think our partnerships with Skillnet and the IDA have meant that we have been able to pioneer a programme which is not only relevant for us within Dell Technologies and the different diverse roles that we have here, but also I think it can prepare any employee in any industry for the skills of the future. So just to step back a little bit in terms of the journey that we've been on. So starting back in 2018, it was a statement that the Institute of the Future report, you can see here, 85% of the jobs that we'll be doing in 2030 haven't yet been invented. It was like a call to action for us. So, a lot of us had been doing a lot of research around skills of the future. We were hearing different pieces of information around the pace of technology and how much it was improving, and you can see here a stat, improving 10x every 5 years. So that's certainly a rate of change that is unprecedented, that none of us really have seen in the last 20 years in the industry. And we could recognize that our professional development and skills were not evolving at the same pace. So could you see a clear opportunity for us in terms of skills development. And I'm just going to take my own position and career as an example. So I'm a HR leader within the company. My professional qualification is all around HR. And yet the role and the team that I lead is a help desk function. So we spend a lot of our time working in a help desk, looking at how our technology can enable our offering, our HR offering to our team members and leaders. And so I would probably say 40% of my own job has become more of a technology-based discussion on how we can enhance the service, how we can implement chatbots, etc. And so, I would say that was a similar type of thought that most of our leaders at Dell are having or have been having over the last couple of years. How do we remain relevant? How do we make sure that our experience for digitisation and automations and our qualifications and the conversations that we can have are fit for purpose? So just on the next slide here, just to give you a little bit of a backdrop in terms of the, the approach that we took. I guess this is the how. So the first thing that we did was a lot of research, and I would say we consulted very broadly in terms of, what's available to us, not only in some of the reports that we've referenced here, like the World Economic Forum, this Realising 2030 report. But we also engaged with a research partner to help us build a profile of the skills of the future through conversations with our team members, with our leaders, with our executives, etc., and really to document where the skill gaps were perceived to be, and then to overlay that with what's happening from an external perspective. And that really helped us to get our thoughts together in terms of, you know, what was happening within our own industry, but what was happening at a macro level as well. And it was at this point then we approached Skillnet to go through our problem statement and some of the key findings from our research and the vision that we had around, you know, where we could see that we wanted to bring some kind of a skills development program to our Dell Technologies team members across Ireland. And all I can say is we were met with an open door and a really finely tuned ear into our needs. You know, and I think we together quickly identified that there was two high-level focus areas that we could see around what we were calling these skills of the future. One area was, we were initially calling actually this kind of soft skills, which I think are the hard skills of the future, but we categorize those as our social capital skills. And then we could see this other clear path around this emerging technologies or technological literacy. And really our key requirement for the programme was to make sure that we had something that was broad enough to reach out to all levels and types of roles within our company, which by the way is very diverse. We've 5,000 employees across a broad range of different business functions, and we really wanted to make sure that it was something that could reach into all of those. And you know, again, you know, another element of this for us was to do a proof of concept in Ireland and so look at something that we could export then globally, which is something we're actually pursuing at the moment. And then we also wanted it to fit around the busy working and home lives of our employees. So, you know, there had to be elements of self-directed learning within it. And we knew from our research as well, to make it sticky, that we needed some kind of an external accreditation for our team members, because we heard many of them hadn't undertaken any continuous professional development in quite some time. And we also heard there were people maybe that didn't even have a qualification. They may have worked through the ranks and they would like to get some kind of a qualification. So we knew that was really important. And then we're made aware of different funding opportunities. So we're very grateful recipients of grant funding through the Digital Skillnet and IDA. And these were all things that we researched and we knew that we wanted to go after when putting the programme together. So if we move on to the next slide, please, Niamh. So as they say, it takes a village to raise a child, and in the same way I could say it took a village to put this programme together, and you know, it just would not have been possible without the tremendous support, agility, and I would say foresight of the many different partners that got involved with us. So we had the Technological University of Dublin. They were our academic partners who provided our accreditation for the programme. We had Skillnet and the IDA who provided funding and strategic support, and Technology Ireland Digital Skillnet who helped us put the programme concept together and help us lead that programme. And then I'm going to pass over to David, who was our brilliant training partner from Neueda, to talk a little bit more about the content of Transform. So David, over to you.
Thanks, Una. Thanks, everybody. Good afternoon, and thanks to the IDA, to Skillnet Ireland, and to Dorothy for organising a lovely afternoon for the weather as well. Niamh, if you can knock it on just to the next slide, would be great. So I'm going to take maybe 5 or 10 minutes here, folks, just to chat through a couple of things. I'll mention just that starting point that Una and the team at Dell had provided with us, but I'll talk through the programme. What does it look like? What's what do we do when we're in the classroom? And then I'll talk a little bit about the experience from the learners, from the individuals who've gone through the programme. I'll mention I'll pick up actually on a couple of the phrases or the themes that Breda had mentioned earlier in terms of the collaboration, action planning, service optimization. They were all things that are mixed into the programme. But what does it look like? Look, we've got 4 core modules that we take the participants through, And then there's a fifth piece, I think probably the most important piece, where we get into the planning. So the 4 modules, 2 of them map pretty closely to what Una just talked about in terms of those social capital skills, and that's sort of evidence of the fact that no successful transformation, whether it's digital or any sort of transformation, happens without human beings, coming along on the journey. So 2 of those very critical modules around the people, the social capital piece. Talk about those in a second. And then 2 of the modules are around the technology. That's front and center, the core of the program, about both demystifying and encouraging people to start to play with some of these enabling technologies. So becoming a digital organization, there in that classroom module, we're looking at some of the challenges around change, some of the innovation frameworks that are available for us to use, some of the success stories that an organization can follow when they're planning a change and starting to want to bring technology into the heart of some of the processes and the heart of the organization. Then we jumped off into a core module around cloud and data. So, one of the reasons that there's so much more out there around transformation, digital transformation, and enabling change is about the volume of data that's accessible to all of us and the compute power of the cloud. So you add those 2 things together, and now we're suddenly off into a new world. So we spent the first technical module just working through spinning up cloud instances, going and grabbing data sets, analyzing that data, putting it up onto the cloud, and it's incredibly practical. It's not theoretical. We're not talking about it. You're actually doing it. And that's one of the key tenets of the program, that people had to pick up practical skills. After we cover that core piece around cloud and data, those sort of foundation pieces, then we move off into some of the really fun and exciting stuff. So when you've got those key pieces in place about cloud and data and that compute power, then we're able to go off and look at things like AI. So spinning up chatbots that either help with service optimization or client engagement. So how do you service your clients more effectively? We look at how blockchain can be used for secure transactions. And then a whole range of other technologies that sit on top of cloud and data. So we're looking at 5G, we're looking at the Internet of Things, all about how do you change or improve existing or shorten existing processes or touch points with your clients. So 2 core tech modules there, cloud and data, and then all of the enabling technologies in terms of AI. The next social capital skill module, we call it there empowering a digital workforce. That's, in essence, that's about change, either you as a leader or a manager, helping your team move forward and cope with a new way of working. Or it's you as a practitioner, you're part of that team. What can you do to step forward and get comfortable with change? What's the human way of reacting to that? How to start to embrace it? And the final module, that on the very right hand side, called Capstone Project, and that's very much about taking these new skills back to your desk, back to your team, and applying them to an area of the business. So taking some existing processes and seeking to improve those, taking some big data sets, looking to identify some key themes or insights out of those, or pushing even further and implementing things like chatbot or IoT solutions within the organization. That was absolutely critical to the program. I think we'll pick up on that in terms of some of the success stories around some of the capstone projects in a second. So that's the core structure. Niamh, if you want to just knock it on one more slide, I'll just talk briefly about the participant experience. What does the thing look like in the classroom? So the program runs across 6 months. The classroom pieces at the start essentially fall into 4 months, and then we've got 2 months at the end for the capstone project. It's approximately 16 hours per month, so effectively 2 classroom days per month for each of those modules is 2 classroom days, delivered once a month. Una mentioned that sort of hard backbone that we get from it being a university accredited program. That's the good news. The challenging news is that to go with that, there's also a substantial amount of assignments and assessments for the university to be able to say, yes, those individuals have achieved those learning outcomes. So with each of the modules, there's a very practical assignment that you're set to go and do something back with your team, back in the business, all sort of leaning towards that capstone project piece. Classrooms usually around about 20 people, maybe 16 to 24 people. So a fantastic opportunity actually to get to meet other individuals from across the organization. And one of the things that was incredibly enjoyable from an instructor perspective was to see that level of interaction across the different Dell sites and the different Dell teams about where maybe one group had tried something and seen some success and were able to share that information with other groups. So very much about peer learning and not just the instructor standing up there and instructing. In terms of the blended learning, Una's mentioned this already. So there was a lot of content to be tackled in the classroom, but also a lot of support to fall back into in terms of digital content that was made available by Dell, and also support from within the organization around your projects and around people who have been through the program before. There's an opportunity to get together with those individuals, check in with them, what did they do, not what were the answers to the assignments, but what did you do, how did your project work, what challenges did you see, and then that key thing at the end that we mentioned in terms of the capstone projects, very much about get back into the business and look to see where you can apply these new skills and new technologies. And just hit the button for me just once, Steve. There's one, I think, little animation to pop up. Yeah, and Una's mentioned this. The ultimate aim here was to for individuals, many of whom had been away from higher education for a substantial amount of time, to walk away with a diploma. So we were very conscious when we were designing the program that we had to tackle two things. For me as a learner, what's in it for me? Why should I stick with this? Why should I, when I'm busy with other things, why should I sit down and complete these assignments? And then secondly, from an organization, from Dell's perspective, what's in it for the organization? And that was very much around the capstone projects, driving out innovation and having a skilled workforce as well. So I think that's it from me on the structure and the learning experience. So I think I might be handing back to you, Una, for the next slide. Neve, if you want to knock it off.
Thanks, David. So just building a little bit more on David's reference to this capstone project, because this turned into a real highlight, not only from a learning experience, but also from I guess a return on investment perspective from a Dell Technologies point of view. So that project basically was where team member or the learner came together into groups, and they tackled a business problem. And so those business problems were so wide and varied, and actually this looks like a complete eye chart, but it's I would say reflective of the different types, loads and loads of different types of projects that came out of this. And we had everything from kind of solving our customer problems, to solving our employee engagement problems, to solving our new virtual world that we found ourselves in problems, etc., etc. And an example is we had from manufacturing, the team who worked on IoT sensors to build up data and analytics that could inform process improvements and how to get information from a manufacturing perspective, and then kind of information on, again, IoT that can be built through the supply chain in order to inform customers as to where their products are, so we can make sure that we can deliver products on time, etc. And even like right through to, in our new virtual world, how do we meet our diversity goals to ensure that we've got that we attract more females into our technology type roles, and how do we do that when we can't go to recruitment campaigns? So building out like a virtual reality offering that we can send out to female students to give them an experience as what it's like to be a female in a technology role. So many different types of projects that the teams delivered. And you can see here on the left hand side lots of different then technologies that were used to solution, and that was a critical part, that in order to solution for this problem you needed to give a technology solution. And you can see everything from Internet of Things, AR, VR, blockchain, so just wide and varied as to how these solutions were offered. And then, you know, from a business impact perspective, lots and lots of ways in which we were helping our customer, we were building process improvements, we were ensuring that, you know, we were building intelligence, data, you know, things around new products and items linked to manufacturing as well. So again, you know, it was about the learner. It started off as, you know, being a way that the learner was able to put all of the key elements of the program into practice. But there was this brilliant knock-on for Dell, where we actually got sponsorship from our leadership teams to go along and listen to these readouts, and where we could see nuggets or whole parts of projects that could be implemented, giving the right support around that. So just wanted to kind of give a shout out for that capstone piece, which turned out to be a real plus on the programme as well. And so just at a very high level, and before I turn over to Joan and John, just to kind of give you a sense of, you know, kind of what this looks like in terms of the key highlights. So for us, I think, you know, the most important thing was we offered this out across all of our Dell Technologies team members, you know, and where we saw opportunities, we would encourage team members who we could see this would be a real value add. But really, this was a groundswell where the employees themselves chose that, you know, it was something for them. And we were delighted that 900 of our team members and leaders stepped up and took part in this big commitment for them, but, you know, brilliant opportunity. And 341 of those were actually in leadership roles. So, you know, great way that we are able to not only have, you know, kind of the learner, you know, kind of do that personal development piece, but also that bringing that thought leadership back into the workplace, thinking about the roles, thinking about functions, and trying to make sure that the application of the learning happened as well. And, you know, another demographic for us around, you know, kind of the age profile, 40% of those who signed up for the program are over the age of 45. So, you know, the likelihood is that they may not have been recent graduates or, you know, may not have done any development over the last number of years. So great to see that profile. And again, a lot of relative to our population, a lot of our female team members signing up as well. And so really, you know, in summary, you know, kind of the key aspects of this program is, you know, the reach of it, the application, how practical it's been. And as with every great story, it really needs, you need to, you know, kind of talk to the learner themselves to really hear and understand. And so with that, I want to pass over to Joan and John to talk about how the program helped them and their career and development. So Joan, over to you.
Thank you, Una. So I'm Joan Crotty. I'm a chartered accountant and I'm 11 years with Dell. And I have just completed the Transform Leader program, and I'm very happy to share my experience with you. So I haven't done any formal learning prior to this in 23 years. And I signed up for it because I knew very little about emerging technologies. And while I felt my social capital skills were good, I wanted to build on those strengths. And I knew that I needed to upskill myself for finance of the future because leveraging new technologies is a key priority for us in driving operational and process improvements. And an external accredited program was a real bonus to have available in this area. So I started the program in February, and fast forward 3 months, the very good news I want to share is that I've secured a new global role in Transformation Project Management Office in Dell. And this is a new Apex Cloud as a Service offering that Dell is offered. And I also was promoted to Senior Consultant in this. I wouldn't even have dreamed of applying for the role before doing the program. And the social capital skills in the program really helped me position myself for the role. I was competing against applicants from all over the world, and this program was a real differentiator in my story. And some of the examples of the benefits of the program for me were in David referred to, you know, module 2 and module 3 on the more technical aspects of the program. So on cloud computing and cybersecurity, it really helped me understand cloud computing, understand that language, we accessed the Amazon Web Services Cloud Console, which really helped me visualize what a cloud offering looked like. And it really helped me, and it also demystified for me data analytics, artificial intelligence, machine learning, Internet of Things, and blockchain, which was really valuable. We also, from a self-awareness point of view, got an insights profile in module 1. And again, this helped me articulate my strengths, my energies, my preference, and it also helped me build out my value proposition in the interview process. And this new cloud as a service is a big change for Dell and our customers. So awareness of the neuroscience of change, is really important. And now that I'm 3 weeks into my new role, I'm already leveraging, tools such as stakeholder mapping and customer centricity to really help me be successful in the role. I thoroughly enjoyed the classes, and as an adult learner, I have a much greater appreciation of the learning opportunity than when I did as a student. I could relate my own personal experiences and professional experiences and have a point of view. And as David mentioned, there was great discussions in the classes, and that peer learning really enhanced the learning experience. When I did the program, it was virtual, so we used Zoom breakout sessions as part of it, and the tutors were great at facilitating discussion and making sure we covered the content. And I think the other piece is the classes give us time to stand back from our day jobs and think and reflect on ourselves and our career. And David mentioned we had assignments after each module, and I particularly enjoyed the reflective journals, which required us to think on the social capital side and create an action plan. And I'm a mother of 4 children, so finding time to juggle to do the assignments certainly was a challenge, but I really enjoyed the topics, so I made sure I found time for them. My group project, was with a diverse group of team members from Dell, and the technology we chose to do a project on was virtual reality. So we designed a proof of concept on how we could enhance the candidate experience for our talent acquisition team when they're doing new graduate hires, and really have a really great project, I believe, done that I expect will be implemented by the talent acquisition team. And overall, if I'm to summarize, it's been a fantastic opportunity to complete a Transform program. It has benefited me personally and professionally, and I look forward to leveraging the learnings from it for many years to come. So that's my experience. Thank you.
Over to you, John.
Hello. Obviously, I'm not too good on Dell Technologies, trying to get unmuted there. Sorry, I can only concur what Joan's just gone through. My name is John Sherlock. I'm a senior consultant in Dell's Global Process Engineering Department. I've been in Dell too many years, probably 20 odd years. I completed the transfer program, the Leader Influence course last year. And what I've actually, there's loads of things I got from it, I have to say, too numerous to mention, right? But one of the things I kind of realized about my career in Dell is I've actually built up a kind of a skill over the years that I didn't know. I have this ability to analyze technology, but very much as a superficial level, right? That completely failed me when I got to the assignments. Sitting blankly at the assignments where they're looking for 2,500 words on cloud or big data, emotional intelligence, you want to see it. But at the end of it, 2,500 weren't enough. I was looking for 10,000 because we built up our knowledge. I was still trying to cram in all of the articles that I'd read and trying to figure out the quotes and the different perspectives that I now had, right? So I ran into a different problem, and yes, I did give feedback that 2,500 was not enough, even though at the time at the start, I didn't know what to be putting in. So while that's very much a kind of on the academic side, what really was I found very powerful was the capstone project, right, where we've learned this technology and then we got to apply it. So 5 of us came together. Again, I said I'm in Dell a long time. I didn't actually know 4 of the people, didn't know what part of the business they were in. We came together. We went off and we actually engaged our leaders, asking what business problems did they have that they felt technology could actually help them with. We analysed what we got back, and then together we actually went after basically the business problems around could we leverage these to improve online revenue. Yep, we shoot it basically for the stars. And basically what we found was when we actually analysed the revenue opportunities on the Dell.com site, we actually found there was actually an improvement, right? There was an improvement, especially around accessory selling, where we felt that augmented reality coupled with machine learning could actually enhance that kind of customer connectedness to the product, and kind of taking it, making it real, and kind of and displaying it on their desktop and show how it integrates what they actually had built on their desk today. So what we did was we actually went off and we felt it would actually support kind of higher conversion rates on the site, and we actually went off into the business and we actually presented to them, and as a result of that, they've actually reprioritized the activity that they had in this area. Like everything else, there's everybody's looking for their piece in order for improvements, but they've actually taken on some of the feedback and findings that we had, and I think later on this year they're going to implement some of those based on some of kind of the things that we've assessed and so forth, right? So again, it really did help kind of make it practical, bring it to the business, help them or help us really solidify our knowledge and practicality of it. Now, I could also talk about the insights profile. I got to feel like and engage with people based on their colors. If you haven't ever done it, it talks about blues and greens and who's a red and who's a yellow. And I actually came to actually have converse with people. Are you a blue? I think you're a red. So it really helps me for the kind of not only in my day-to-day job, but just kind of interacting better with people. We obviously, just as we finished, we went virtual, so a whole different new and dynamic with Zoom sessions and so forth. But again, that kind of insight of how I kind of learned to many of the different tools and techniques really helped to kind of get over that. Now, as I kind of like, as I think back, about 3 or 4 months later, I was actually asked by the business to lead up a rollout of a machine learning project into our remote services teams. So we actually went off to analyze and predict the time to close on our customer tickets. And I was asked to kind of roll that out, and thankfully, with the knowledge that I actually kind of understood what the data science and machine learning teams were talking about, and helped translate that into the business. So we actually run a very, very successful project, which even today is kind of helping deliver some good, strong business results. So for me, my feedback: if you get the opportunity, just do it. Jump in. There is a commitment, right? You do have to concentrate. They don't give away anything for free. You have to commit, but it's well worth it, right? So for me, I'd do it again tomorrow if they let me. All right. So back to you, Anna, if you want to go through some of the participants' feedback.
Yeah, great. And literally, this is just to put up as we're having Q&As, but there is further statements from our team members from across the different cohorts in terms of some of the experiences that they had. So, Dorothy, I think we can pass back to you. That is what we had prepared for today.
That was fantastic, really good. And we certainly have some questions coming through, but I know Mark is going to talk to us for a few minutes on this, just as the Skillnet funding, and then I'll come back to everybody's questions. And Joan, just to let you know, we have a huge number of people saying congratulations on your promotion. So great to have a live case study of the impact of the program. So congratulations on that. So I'm going to hand over to Mark, and Mark Jordan is the Chief Technologist with Skillnet Ireland, and Mark is going to briefly just highlight to you some of the benefits and some of the things that Skillnet can support you on. So Mark, handing over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dorothy, and good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be able to speak to you today. And just before I begin, I think it's fantastic to hear the story from all the participants here, from the IDA, from Dell, from Neueda, and in particular the stories from Joan and John, who went through the program, and the impact that's made. So that's fantastic. So that sets the scene a little bit to talk about, you know, where Skillnet Ireland have gotten involved and the what. What I wanted to do is talk about who we are, for those perhaps that aren't very familiar with Skillnet Ireland. So essentially, Skillnet Ireland operates on a federated approach, where we are a central organisation funded by the Irish government through the National Training Fund. But we operate and support 73 industry partners who are typically industry associations or real industry participants, very close, either sectorally or aligned regionally to business nationally around the country. And so we have reach into currently what is 19,000 companies through these 73 participants, all moving towards and geared towards the understanding what the talent development requirements are of companies and the employees within those companies. So if we could move on to the next slide, please, Niamh. I just want to bring to life a few of the areas where we believe we create value and what our proposition looks like when we reach out to companies and when we're working with the government on national policy. So Skillnet Ireland was originally created to give the voice to companies, to employers, and help facilitate the transformational and the competitive change that was needed through the creation of talent development programs. And so that's where it all began, and it was always an industry-led initiative. You know, we don't supply anything to companies. Everything we develop is driven by company and business need. The next area I want to bring to life is just, and this was a great example, the Transform program is a great example where there is a collaboration either from an industry, an enterprise agency like the IDA, through government, through industry, where we've brought academia together, and Skillnet Ireland, and in this case our fantastic digital Skillnet, were orchestrating all of that and making sure all the partners were you know, bought in, and there was great commitment, and it was a real strong partnership and team effort to get this delivered into Dell. So that's typically how we operate, as a collaborative approach to solving industry challenges. Another area that we really like to focus in on is this notion of innovating the workforce, and those are both the pre-existing workforce, whether they're operating in a startup or in a very large multinational, is understanding the needs of that business and the needs of that worker, and making sure we're developing the types of pathways and frameworks that will help them really develop the talent and create that type of learning that becomes very much part of the organizational DNA and becomes part of the main workflow, and is very much integrated into the way the organization works. And we do that through very close collaboration with business. And obviously the programs are heavily subsidized through the government subsidies and national training funds. And so in some cases, they're 100% subsidized if they're geared towards returners into the workforce, or subsidized up to a certain percentage depending on the type of program, the type of initiative, and the type of company that we're working with. So again, it just brings us to life in a way that demonstrates how quick and agile we can move in order to support the needs of industry in this country. So if we can move on to the next slide, please. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about where we build our strategy and where we like to focus as an organization, and how we disseminate that through our 73 partners. So there are 5 main areas here, pillars of strategy, not too dissimilar to what Breda would have shown from the IDA's perspective. Our first one is around accelerating digital. And what do we mean by that? we mean the digital upskilling of people in the workforce and helping companies become more digitalized. And we've seen that heavily through the last sort of 15, 16 months through the pandemic, where organizations have pivoted and become very much more digital, more omni-channel in their approach to supporting customer needs. And we've been helping do that through the facilitation of those digital skills. The next area that we focused in on is the green economy, climate. And that's really about focusing in and building skill programs and frameworks around areas such as renewable energy, so wind, solar, geothermal energy, looking at areas around clean tech, around clean transportation, sustainable finance, and sustainable logistics as well. So all of these types of upskilling programs that we'll need to be successful in the green economy, and as we look at the kind of addressing the climate action challenges and national policies there. The next area is around SMEs and how we can help SMEs become more competitive and more effective. And to do that, we really talk to them about what their business goals are, what the gaps, what the opportunities are, where they see threats, where we can help them in terms of the development of talent, be it at the leadership level or at the within the wider workforce, and help again build frameworks and plans and pathways for that company to engage in more of a journey around talent upskilling. The fourth area is around supporting the FDI and the great work we're doing with the IDA, and making sure that we are providing cutting edge talent and training facilities and programs into the IDA clients, the FDI investors here in Ireland, and making sure that we are helping grow that population and really secure Ireland as a place to be, and differentiating Ireland from a skills and talent perspective, and being as successful as we can there. The last area is around what we call workforce innovation, which is looking at how we can challenge companies, challenge our partners to give us the type of training initiatives that will speak to the future world of work. What do roles look like going forward? There's a great quote earlier about 85% of jobs haven't been defined yet, that will be in existence by the end of this decade. So it's things like that where we're trying to look around the corner. We're trying to figure out what kind of skill needs will businesses need over the course of the next decade. And we challenge our partners to be able to provide that for us. We can move to the next slide, please. So I just wanted to share what our strategic aims were and where our aspirations are as an organization. And they really speak to four areas here. Firstly, we're looking to be able to invest 100 million euros in workforce development into business in Ireland. And so we're looking to scale, we're looking to grow so we can penetrate, have that kind of level of financial support going into the economy to help upskill businesses and the employees within those. Right now, as we sit here today, we're supporting about 19,000 businesses, some relatively light touch, some of them very deep in terms of we're an instrumental partner. The Dell example is a great one of that. Our goal is to grow that up to 30,000 businesses where we're having a real material impactful change to the way that they're operating. To do that, we want to grow the number of employees we're working with right now from around 60,000 up to about 100,000. So that's 100,000 workers that we'll be engaged with, that we'll be working with, that will be going through our programs and developing as individuals to be more competitive and successful. And then the last area is around an increase of that workforce innovation area I spoke about. We're looking at a 4 times increase in the number of initiatives we're getting, because we see that as the key indicator of what's to come in terms of curating workforce development programs, initiatives, skill-based learning, the types of credentials that will be going along with that. And so that's what we're looking for as an organization over the next 5 years, and that's where we see ourselves growing and scaling as an organization to help support companies and the wider workforce. And I think that's all I had, and I'll hand back to you, Dorothy.
Great, thanks, Mark. Really appreciate that. Very useful to have that overview. And as always, I know Skillnet is available for anybody who has any further questions to contact either your local organisation or Skillnet HQ. So I'm going to kick off with the questions. A couple of people have asked about a copy of the presentation, and just in case you missed it at the beginning, absolutely, we will have a copy available, and we'll also have a copy of the recording if you want to share it with colleagues. But Una, I'll kick off with you first, if that's okay. Question has come in about how did you pick who got to go on the programme, and were different groups on it at the same time, the whole phasing, I suppose the practicalities of how you ran the programme?
Yeah, great question. As I mentioned previously, you know, we felt that this program had to people had to sign up themselves. Then because there is a big commitment here, you know, obviously people needed to put aside time not only from a work perspective, because parts of the program were delivered during the working schedule, but also then, you know, they had to commit from a personal perspective. But basically, you know, we got people to sign up, and after that then we figured out the logistics about how we made sure that we had, you know, kind of the coverage back at base versus those who are in the classroom, whether that be in room or virtually. But you know, an organisation as large as Dell and 3 locations, and because we were, you know, managing 15 to 20 people in a classroom at any one time, you know, that was very possible. You know, it might not be possible for every organisation, but for us, we made it work. So we made sure that not everybody, or, you know, we split out, you know, people who were interested and put them on into different classrooms. We made sure that, you know, kind of if people weren't available or working on a project, we worked around that. So that was kind of the practical way that, you know, but it came, you know, employees signed up themselves, and after that we figured out how to make it happen so that it wasn't disruptive from a work perspective. Hopefully that helps answer.
Yeah, no, absolutely, perfect. David, a question for you. In terms of leadership, I know Una mentioned about the importance of leadership and being involved. For companies on the webinar this afternoon who are obviously completely, you know, keen on implementing a program such as this, where do you actually start, and is it vital that there's buy-in from the top team for it even to begin?
Good question. It's critical, Dorothy. Don't start if there's no buy-in. So where do you start? Mark's mentioned a number. There's a you know, a series of initiatives which are being funded by Skillnet, and Mark called out some big numbers there, and they're all genuine. So I think stepping into some of those lighter touch initiatives that are available from IDA and from Skillnet Ireland would be a great place to start, just to sort of get yourself from maybe not up to 100 miles an hour, but get up to 30 miles an hour and get pointed in the right direction in terms of understanding what's in behind successful transformations. And that's where I would start. You know, just get out and find out what's going on with other organisations, what have they done in the past.
Great. Heather has asked, it sounds like a lot of this was done pre-COVID. What new challenges would you have now if you had to start completely virtually? Don't know who would like to take that.
Yeah, I'll because actually I have to say we all gulped back lots of air whenever the pandemic hit, and we were, you know, we had people who were signed up and waiting, we had people who were already in play, and we were people just finishing up. So we wanted to have a graduation. There was so many different aspects of the program that were going to be impacted because of COVID. But you know, we are an organisation who are, you know, far down the road in terms of being able to work virtually, so that helped a lot. So we moved from the classroom into a virtual into a virtual classroom. But what that meant was we shortened the modules because, you know, obviously people's concentration, and to, you know, kind of manage for people to be able to manage this while their work was evolving as well. So we made small tweaks, but did we have to do fundamental, you know, changes to the program? I would say it was fundamentally how we could support people through that, how we set it up, how we made people feel comfortable, and how, you know, kind of people could be successful in the virtual classroom. But there actually were a few added bonuses, like we were able to make up the classrooms from coming from the different locations, which broaden networks, which broaden the types of capstone projects people could get involved with. And what we actually saw was the satisfaction rating out of 5 in the classroom was 4.5, and that actually stayed the very same whenever we moved to this virtual classroom. So I think, you know, you have to set it up with a different kind of mindset and prepare people, but after that the content can be quite the same, and the experience actually was something, you know, kind of didn't seem to be impacted hugely.
I'm conscious of time, but quick couple more questions if that's okay. Thanks for that, Una. Mark, for you, how would we reach out to Skillnet to find out about specific technology training?
Yeah, thank you for the question. So what I would do is we have a Skillnet Ireland website, skillnetisland.ie is a good place to start, because we can see from there all of the different networks and the type of focus that they have. There are obviously people have relationships and know a local Skillnet network themselves. And just as Breda said, you know, if you're finding you're challenged or you're getting stuck and confused, please reach out to me directly, and I will kind of facilitate that on their behalf, because it's very important to us that individuals that are looking and companies that are looking to engage, that we point them in the right direction and make sure it is the right direction.
Great. Eamon has asked, this is probably for John and Joan, the 16-hour week, is that lecture time or does that include assessment time?
So each module, when I did it virtually, so the classroom was 2 half days per module, and it was 4 2-hour sessions of classes per module, and the assessments were on top of that then. And it was much more than I guess 16 hours between the reading and the assignments. You know, we had some group assignments, some individual assignments, but kind of the nature of them was that, you know, you wouldn't start and finish it in one go. That it was, you know, doing the research, you know, understanding the marking scheme, and, you know, kind of gathering thoughts on it, and, you know, coming back, and it was probably over, you know, a few weeks that the assignment was done, kind of once the initial mind map was done. So in terms of like the guidances, I think it's 400 hours for the program, if I'm correct. And yeah, it's like, and it depends again, like some of the topics, you know, I personally found really interesting, so I was kind of reading very broadly on them. So I guess it's hard to put a specific measure. It really depends on individual interest.
And we'll see, John, what would your view be in terms of...
What I liked about it was it was bursts. So we got the classroom, we got the assignment, filled in the assignment, and then there was a kind of a gap before the next assignments came out, or we had the next class and the next assignment. So it gave you that break. So it was like you condensed your activity into short bursts of time. And yes, there was a couple of late nights, and yes, there was a couple of weekends as I caught up and tried to kind of catch up and on understanding of kind of the topic and so forth. But then once I assignment, there was a break. So I had like a couple of weeks to kind of just do normal stuff, catch up on the football, whatever, and then back into the classroom and back around it again. So that worked for me, to be honest with you. That's when.
And I think both of you have proven it's been a very valuable return on investment in terms of personal time as well as your work time. Conscious of time, everybody. Eamon has just said, yeah, thanks. We'll have to lock the kids into the attic. So good luck with that, Eamon. I know I've actually started a Skillnet certificate in digital technologies program, and actually to your point, John, earlier, you know, I knew all of the words, you know, blockchain, AI, but it's actually when you started delving a little bit deeper, I realized how little I did know, and I really understood. But I'm only 2 weeks into it, so a lot more work to be done. Conscious of time, just to say from Breda and Mark's perspective, obviously, you know, any inquiries that anybody has, go to both the IDA website, as Breda said, your local project executive. David, I know this is an example of the Dell Technologies program, but any program would be designed specifically to the requirements of a particular company. And Una, just to say, I'm assuming if anybody wants to delve a little bit deeper, they can contact you via LinkedIn and get a little bit more information, or if they want to maybe access your skills to convince their leadership team of the benefits of the value of this program, you're available on LinkedIn to have a quick chat with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to support. No problem, Dorothy.
Great. So we're going a little bit over the time. We appreciate everybody's participation. A big thank you, of course, to IDA. In particular, I want to thank Monica and James, who are in the background there today, who've been very involved in putting the programme together. I obviously want to thank Derek Temple, our chairperson, who was so kindly introduced us to Una, and to Joan and John, obviously, for giving their time this afternoon. Thanks as always to Niamh from WSI, who's in the background looking after the technology. But please really do, can I encourage everybody to reach out to all of the participants, any additional information that you would like, either drop me an email and I can introduce you. I'm Dorothy at ccma.ie, and as we said, we'll be sharing the presentation and the recording. So thanks a million, everybody. Enjoy the rest of the afternoon. I can see this in everybody's window, so we might get out for a cup of coffee now, but thanks a lot and good to see you all.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.